I'm going to show you how to perform the first type of workout in the high performance mass training split, which is the upper body performance day. This is actually the core of our training system. It's probably one of the most important days, if not the most important one. You see, the upper body is built for pushing. The pulling actions are more like carrying stuff, supporting the body's system. But the real powerful action that's going to build muscle are the pressing movement. Just imagine somebody, you walk on the street, and you have a guy with huge shoulders, big traps, and big chest, and you have another one with huge biceps, lats, but no shoulders or chest. Who's going to be the most impressive to you? It's going to be the first guy all the time. See, the body is not necessarily built to be worked equally. Your body is like a football team. Every single muscle has its own purpose, its own function. The best offensive lineman in the world couldn't play quarterback. So it's all about training each muscle for what it's built for. And the upper body pressing muscle are built for performance. So that's how we're going to work them. So the first day, what we do is we work basically on the movement patterns that involve pressing with the upper body. And we always structure it this way. We start with the overhead work, so pressing straight over your head. Then we're going to work our way down to incline. Then we're going to work our way down to bench press. And then we can add some either decline work or some partial work to overload the muscles. We do it as what I call an extended ramp or a multi-exercise ramp. So basically, first of all, we start the first movement, like the overhead press, and we ramp up the weight until we reach the top weight we can move with acceleration for the number of reps we selected. Once we're done with that first movement, we move on to the second one, the incline variation, and we start where we ended the first exercise. So it's basically one continuous ramp. We just change the angle so you can ramp up for longer. So then you ramp up the second movement, the incline press, as long as you can, be explosive or have some acceleration for the desired number of reps. When that happens, you switch to the third movement, the bench press, and you start with the weight you ended with on the incline press, and you continue to ramp up. So that's the basic structure. The order of the exercise of the main pressing movement doesn't change. I want to emphasize my bench press, I want a big bench. Well, I'm going to tell you something, that just the fact that you're starting with the overhead work will save your shoulders. You might not feel your shoulder right now when you work the bench press or in front of everything else, but eventually you will. Trust me, I had that problem. And ever since I started doing all the overhead work first, I never had a shoulder injury or shoulder tightness or whatever ever again. So in the long run, it's worth it. And anyway, yes, at first your bench press performance will decline slightly because you will be in a fatigue state, but eventually you will build up the capacity to maintain your strength, and you will actually be stronger on the bench press by doing it third than you were by doing it first. So it's a good investment in the long run. Anyway, the overhead press used to be the number one test of manliness, not the bench press. It always used to be that way. Big shoulders, always impressive. So that's the aesthetic reason. But the real health reason is to do the shoulder first. And also, you have to stabilize the shoulder joint. So when you move to the bench press, the shoulder is more stable. So you will actually be stronger once you learn how to cope with fatigue and to tolerate it. If you want to emphasize like one pattern over the other, for example, let's say that my priority is the bench press, not the overhead press. I got a pretty strong overhead press. Let's say I want to focus on the bench. What do? Do I change the order? No, you keep the same order. That never changes. What will change is the amount of time you spend on each movement. And that's accomplished by the type of ramping up you do with that exercise. For example, if I want to emphasize the bench press, I might use micro ramping. Micro ramping means that instead of going up, for example, 20 pounds at a time with each set, you might go up 5 or 10 pounds at a time. So you'll end up doing twice as many sets as if you were doing only like bigger jumps. So that's one way of doing more sets on a movement you want to focus on. The second one is what I call double ramping. Double ramping is that you're doing 2 sets with the same weight before going up. So let's say, for example, on a bench press, I'm at 315. I will do 1 set of 3, then repeat that set again, 315 sets of 3 reps, then I'm gonna move up. So instead of doing 1 set with each weight, you do 2. You should never do more than 2 sets with the same weight, because the neural system will get lazy on you and it will actually have a drop in performance and you will be kicked out of the zone. But 2 sets, fine. But that way, again, you do twice as many sets as normal on that movement, so you can emphasize it. A third strategy would be extended ramping on the exercise. That means that you start with a selected number of reps, let's say 5. And once you hit your max for 5, then what you do is you continue ramping on, but with sets of 3 reps. So you do a second ramp with lower reps, so you can probably do 2, 3, or 4 more sets. So you get more volume on that movement. If you want to emphasize an exercise, you shouldn't change the order. You should increase the amount of time or volume you spend on that movement to practice it. And you practice it by doing more sets across the spectrum, not more sets at the end of the spectrum. You want to practice the whole spectrum. That's very important.